Hare Krishna. We will hear now a class on Srimad Bhagavatam. Our lecturer will sit on the left side from me at the end. Please sit down and join us for this lecture this morning. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopidanna Vallabha Girivardhari Gopidanna Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bradadanarañjana Yashodanandana Bradadanarañjana Jamunatira Banachari Jamunatira Banachari Jayo Radhamadavo Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Mishnupar Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Satara Satasi Simati Ranika Swami Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantarat Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaur Pramanandi Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, 6th chapter, Purusha Sukta, confirmed, text number 18. Somritasya bayasyesho martyamannam yat atyagat mahimaisha tato brahman purushasya duratyayaha Somritasya bayasyesho Martyam annam yat atyagat Mahimaisha tato brahman Purushasya duratyayaha vayasheshu anyam yadattiga yeshabdo brahman duratyaha. Ladies. So amritasya vayasheshu Mahimaisha tato brahman purushasya duratyaya saha, he the Lord, amritasya, of deathlessness, abhayasya, of fearlessness, ishaha, the controller, martyam, dying, annam, fruit of action, yat, one who has, atyagat, has transcended, mahima, the glories, eshaha, of him, tataha, therefore, brahman, O Brahman Narad, purushasya, of the Supreme Personality, duratyayaha, immeasurable. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the controller of immortality and fearlessness, and He is transcendental to death and the fruit of actions of the mature world. O Narad, O Brahman, it is therefore difficult to measure the glories of the Supreme Person. So this is Brahma speaking to Narad Muni. The glories of the Lord, purport, the glories of the Lord in the transcendental, 75% of the Lord's internal potency, are stated in the Padma Purana, Uttara Kanda. It is said that those planets in the spiritual sky, which comprises the 75% expansion of the internal potency of the Lord, are far, far greater than those planets in the total universes, composed of the external potency of the Lord. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the total universes in the external potency of the Lord are compared to a bucket full of mustard seeds. One mustard seed is calculated to be a universe itself. In one of the universes in which we are now living, the number of planets cannot be counted by human energy. And so how can we think of the sum total in all the universes, which are compared to a bucket full of mustard seeds? And the planets in the spiritual sky are at least 3 times the number of those in the material sky. Such planets being spiritual are in fact transcendental to the material modes. Therefore they are constituted in the mode of unalloyed goodness only. The conception of spiritual bliss, Brahmananda, is fully present in those planets. Each of them is eternal, indestructible, and free from all kinds of inebrieties experienced in the mature world. Each of them is self-illuminating and more powerfully dazzling than, if we can imagine, the total sunshine of millions of mundane suns. The inhabitants of those planets are liberated from birth, death, old age, and diseases, and have full knowledge of everything. They are all godly and free from all sorts of material hankerings. They have nothing to do there except to render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Narayan, who is the predominating deity of such Vaikuntha planets. Those liberated souls are engaged incessantly in singing songs mentioned in the Samaveda. Vedai Sangapada Kramopanishadair Gayantiyang Samagaha. All of them are personifications of the 5 Upanishads. Tripad Vibhuti, or the 75% known as the internal potency of the Lord, is to be understood as the kingdom of God far beyond the material sky. And when we speak of Pada Vibhuti, or the 25% comprising his external energy, we should understand that this refers to the sphere of the mature world. It is also said in the Padma Purana that the kingdom of Tripad Vibhuti is transcendental, whereas the Pada Vibhuti is mundane. Tripad Vibhuti is eternal, whereas the Pada Vibhuti is transient. The Lord and his eternal servitors in the transcendental kingdom all have eternal forms, which are auspicious, infallible, spiritual, and eternally youthful. In other words, there is no birth, death, old age, and disease. That eternal land is full of transcendental enjoyment and full of beauty and bliss. This very fact is also corroborated in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the transcendental nature is described as Amrita. As described in the Vedas, Utamritatvasyeshanaha, the Supreme Lord is the Lord of immortality, or in other words, the Lord is immortal. And because He is the Lord of immortality, He can award immortality to His devotees. In the Bhagavad Gita 8:16, the Lord also assures that whoever may go to His abode of immortality shall never return to this mortal land of threefold miseries. The Lord is not like the mundane Lord. The mundane master, O Lord, never enjoys equally with his subordinates, nor is a mundane Lord immortal, nor can he award immortality to subordinate. The Supreme Lord, who is the leader of all living entities, can award all the qualities of His personality unto His devotees, including immortality and spiritual bliss. In a mature world, there is always anxiety or fearfulness in the hearts of all living entities. But the Lord, being Himself the Supreme Fearless, also awards the same quality of fearlessness to His pure devotees. Mundane existence is itself a kind of fear, because in all mundane bodies, the effects of birth, death, old age, and disease always keep a living being compact in fear. In the mundane world, there is always the influence of time, which changes things from one stage to another. And the living entity, originally being avikar or unchangeable, suffers a great deal on account of changes due to the influence of time. The changing effects of eternal time are conspicuously absent in the immortal kingdom of God, which should therefore be understood to have no influence of time and therefore no fear whatsoever. In a mature world, so-called happiness is the result of one's own work. One can become a rich man by dint of one's own hard labor, and there are always fear and doubts as to the duration of such acquired happiness. But in the kingdom of God, no one has to endeavor to attain a standard of happiness. Happiness is the nature of the spirit, as stated in Vedanta Sutras, Anandamayo Vyasat. The spirit is by nature full of happiness. Happiness in spiritual nature always increases in volume, with a new phase of appreciation. There is no question of decreasing the bliss. Did you get that? There is no question of decreasing the bliss. Such unalloyed spiritual bliss is nowhere to be found within the orbit of the material universe, including the Janaloka planets, or for that matter, the Maharloka or Satyaloka planets, because even Lord Brahma is subject to the laws of fruitive actions and the law of birth and death. It is therefore stated here, Duratyaya, or in other words, spiritual happiness in the eternal kingdom of God cannot be imagined even by the great brahmacharis or sannyasis who are eligible to be promoted to the planets beyond the region of heaven. Or the greatness of the Supreme Lord is so great that it cannot be imagined even by the great brahmacharis or sannyasis. But such happiness is factually attained by the unalloyed devotees of the Lord, by His divine grace. So mritasya bayasyesho martyam annam yat antyagat martyam annam yat atyagat mahimaisha tato brahman purushasya duratyayaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the controller of immortality and fearlessness, and He is transcendental to death and the fruit of actions of the mature world. O Narad, O Brahman, it is therefore difficult to measure the glories of the Supreme Person. Om Ajnanatimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kedamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripadamaham vande Sri Guru Dinotaranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanyeshwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. With the blessings of all the Vaishnavas, we're very fortunate to be here in this holy place of New Vrindaban, which is a dham, a spiritual abode, none different from Shri Vrindavan Dham, Shri Mayapur Dham. Here in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma is speaking to his son Narad Muni about Atma Tattva Gyan, knowledge of the self, and he's delineating what is technically described as Sambandha Gyan, or knowledge about identity. Identity is very important to understand because it is the foundation upon which we build all our thought process, all our activities. Your sense of self is what defines your actions in this world. Everything that we do can be traced back to our sense of identity, our sense of values. That gives us a sense of coordination of how we want to navigate in this world. So, these are fundamentals and they're essential truths. And he's describing the nature of the Supreme Lord, because in the Vedic epistemology, you start with divinity. You start out with Krishna and then you take it down to our level. Whereas in the Western approach, you start with I, me, and mine, and then you go as far as you can speculate. You try to reach as far as your mind and your intelligence allows you to reach. You understand the difference of approach? In the Vedic, you start with the source, with the Lord, and then you take it down to our level. Whereas in the Western or modern approach, the scientific approach, you start with the known, which means yourself and what you can experience through your senses. And then you try to reach as far as you can reach. But that approach is futile because our senses are very limited. I don't know who's cooking breakfast. I don't know what they're cooking. I know there will be breakfast, but what it's going to be, well, I have a hunch. It might be khichdi. But besides that, I have to guess. It's all guesswork. So, in a similar way, even though if you have X-ray vision, you may still not see what's actually happening. So, our senses are limited. Also, we're only here for a very short time. Very short time. So, and we can make mistakes. It can happen to the best. Has it ever happened to you? That, yeah, you made a mistake. And you can be under illusion. And these are the disqualifications of conditioned souls. And therefore, without offending anybody here, we are usually in a bit of anxiety and a little bit of fear. Where did I put my beads? Where did I put my key? Where's my mobile? Who took it? Like now, people look at each other like, are you going to kill me? And so, we're always fearful because we are in this temporary situation, which is very unnatural for us because we are children of eternity. We're immortal. We're Satchidananda. We're full of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, yet we're in a situation which is temporary, ignorant, and miserable. I don't know about you, but I felt a little miserable yesterday from, fasting, and then you eat late, and then, try to get up in the morning. And you realize this body has limitations. It's not really so easy to navigate in this world. So, of course, it's folly to be wise where ignorance is bliss when we're not aware. You can say then it doesn't really matter. because you're not conscious. But that is a very limited state of perception. Everyone is experiencing suffering on one level or another, in one form or another. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada focuses on these important points, that without immortality, there can be no fearlessness. As long as we are faced with the temporary, we are fearful. You might be on Swarga, you might be in the great country of America, you might be in heaven, but there's always that fear. What if my credit runs out? What if the next time I swipe my card, it says card declined? Have you ever had that happen to you? Huh? It's a terrible feeling, isn't it? Huh? What? My credit no good here? What's going on? It's a very disappointing feeling, right? It's embarrassing, yeah. And the people start looking at you like, have you paid your bills, son? Huh? Is this your card, sir? You know, show us some identification here. Huh? It's very embarrassing. And that's why even people on higher planets are always a little bit afraid that what if my credit runs out? What if somebody comes who's got more credit than me? They may bust me. They may bump me from my position, take over. Huh? So there's always fear. Bhayam dvitiya biniveshatasyat ishadapetasya viparyayo smritihi. That when we see things as separate from the Lord, immediately fear arises. As long as we know that everything is part of Krishna's creation and everything is under his control, not a single blade of grass, last time we checked, right? They were all in their proper place. The leaves also, the birds also. It's only the humans who are crazy. Everything is under Krishna's control. But if we forget that, we become very fearful and we think, oh, what if somebody sees that I took more than I was supposed to? How much can you enjoy when you're fearful? Have you ever tried? You hide that plate and you go in the back room and you try to eat it real fast before somebody sees you. Have you all done that? Or is it just me? How much can you enjoy? Honestly, not very much, right? Because you know that, as the signs say outside there, Krishna is watching. Krishna is watching. Krishna is watching. Not just on camera, but Krishna is in your heart. He's watching. He knows. Even before you make that move, even before you think about it, Krishna is thinking, okay, now he's going to have that thought, of doing that. Let's see whether he catches himself or whether he goes along with it. And Krishna is always interested to see, because Krishna is concerned about us. Krishna is very kind. He's very compassionate. I was in Tucson, Arizona, at the world's biggest gem and stone fair, and they distribute a lot of prasadam there, the devotees, because they have a good restaurant and they cater to all the vendors. So it was very nice to distribute books to those vendors. And then I saw one young man, he was up on the upper floor putting up the sign for his store. And when he saw me, he said, Krishna is such a rascal. He's such a cheater. Wherever I go, he finds me. So he was a devotee for 5 years distributing books with RVC, with Parameshwara, Kansas City. And then he decided to try to forget Krishna. And he went back to his extracurricular activities, no need to mention, digging for things from the earth and trying to do other things. But he says, wherever I go, Krishna shows up and says, hi, I'm already here. I've been waiting for you. How are you doing, my friend? Yeah? And he's quite amused, but also a little bit embarrassed, because Krishna is always appearing on his path. So I went up to him and I gave him a big hug and gave him prasadam, and then I asked him, do you have a Bhagavad Gita? And he said, no, I don't have any books. I said, well, you need some books, there's a crazy world here. You need to have some books. So I gave him some books, and when he went for the donation, I said, 108 is auspicious. You remember that, right? 108, Mala? So give 108. And so he gave me 108, and I said, everything that you have is Krishna's property. It's all his. And he gave it to you. So don't complain. He's given you everything. And he had to agree and acknowledge and say, yeah, actually, he has given me everything. And in that moment where he acknowledged that, he actually became free from fear and anxiety. Even though he was not in a good space in his life, but because he could accept the fact that Krishna is Bhoktaram Yagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatvamam Shantirichati. Without peace, there is no happiness. No Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. If you want Shanti, you can only get Shanti if you know these three things. That Krishna is in charge. It is not me. As you may have noticed, mobile signal doesn't work. We've purposefully chosen this place, right? Then so many things don't work. When you come to the temple, you can tell people, you don't know who I am? And everybody goes, no. I don't know who you are. You're just another confused soul, like most of us. Then we think that there is something to gain in this world. There is some profit. Annam, anna, rice or fruit. People want to get the fruit. They want to get the result of their activity. And for that, they're striving and struggling very hard without understanding that Krishna is the one who is granting the result. It's not because of our endeavor that we'll get a result. If you do not have the credit, you will not get the result. Sometimes you don't endeavor, and there is great windfall. There's great abundance. And sometimes you work very hard, and you lose everything, and you go in minus. It's bad business, losing money while doing business, right? But it can happen. So Krishna is the controller, he is the enjoyer, and he's also the Surit. There's Mitra, there is Bandhu, and there is Surit. There is just somebody you know on the job, some social friend. Then Bandhu is a little closer. But Surit is the one who has your interest at heart. He wants you to be well. He wants you to succeed. He wants you to become happy. That is the true friend, and that is Krishna. Krishna is such a friend that he travels with us through all the life forms in all the species, and he's there. Ishvara sarva bhutanam riddesher janatishti brahmayan sarva bhutani yantara rudani maya. He's accompanying us through all the life forms to guide us, to give us good counsel and good direction. Like you came here to New Vrindaban. How we came here to New Vrindaban? Because Krishna guided us. Because this place is so remote, you can't find it unless Krishna guides you, right? But even if you have GPS, sometimes you may get lost. It has happened, right? So then what do you do when you don't know what to do? Have you ever been in a situation in life where you didn't know what to do? Has this ever happened to you? Or is it just me? What do? You go crazy? You call 911? You open the window and you start asking everyone for directions? That's a funny game. You'll get some interesting answers. No. Krishna! Where to go from here? I'm at the end of my rope. I don't know how to navigate. I don't know how to move forward. Please help me. Please give me guidance. Please give me direction. So, fearlessness. In this world, it's very difficult to be fearless because the situation is very precarious. As it is mentioned yesterday, Amala Jala Jala Jivana Jala Mala. We're like a drop of water on the lotus leaf, ready to fall off at any given moment, in any direction. You ever seen drops on a leaf? Like sometimes in Mayapur you walk in the morning and then the mist, it falls from the champak trees, from the kadamba trees, those big tall trees. There's so many leaves. And then sometimes you walk and a big drop of water hits you. Has it happened? You notice? And you go like, where did that come from? Why did that hit me? So the drop can fall off any moment. Time is precious. Time is moving ahead. And there's nothing we can do to stop it. If we want to be fearless, we have to take shelter. Abhaya charana ravindure. We have to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that will make us fearless. Because when you're on Krishna's time scale, there's no death. Amritasya. You become deathless. So then what is there to be afraid about? There's nothing to be afraid about for a devotee who has taken full shelter of Krishna. Now what is the greatest fear in this world? Losing the human form of life, yes. Going into the lower species where you can't really practice spiritual life because you're not really aware or conscious. That's a great fear. So, devotees are very conscientious that they do not engage in activities or mindsets which will further their entanglement in this world. My friend Brahmatirtha Prabhu, he told me an interesting story. He was trying to mediate, he's a mediator, top-level mediator, between two Punjabis who were at odds since decades. They had legal battles. They were part of the same community, the same temple, the same Gurudwara, but they had real issues, unresolvable issues, so much so that they did not meet and not talk with each other for more than 10 years. So they were in a building on the first and third floor with their group of lawyers, and Brahmatirtha was going up and down between first and third floor to try to find some solution. And it was so much at loggerheads that he saw that this can't be reconciled. So he told the lawyers that he would like to have a word with the two gentlemen in private, just the three of them. And they said, but that's not possible, like they haven't talked for 10 years. He said, no, tell them I want that and it's what we're going to do right now, because otherwise mediation is off and nothing's going to move. So he met the two and he told them that whatever position you're taking, I'm going to take you now to the Gurudwara, and on the Granth Sahib, on the holy book, you have to swear your position. So the guys became a little frightened, because they understood this is serious business. This guy knows our tradition. And he said, by the way, if you guys don't settle, you have to take birth again to continue your fight. And they got really shocked. They realized, if we don't get over this, we'll have to again take birth. So they settled. And then they hugged. And then they came walking out of the room holding hands. And they told the lawyers, you can go home, Game is over. So if I look into my own hearts and I still have issues, I still hold grudges, I still feel somebody owes me or I owe somebody, you'll have to take birth again to collect or to pay your dues. If I don't feel happy seeing anybody, think like, oh no, I don't want to sit with this person, or I don't want to look at this person, or I don't want to be with this person. I have to take birth again to settle that. I hope I'm not the bearer of bad news, but the party is over, and now it's like Monday morning, it's time to clean up the mess and take out the trash, We got to do our homework. This is not just, all Haribol. But if we don't do our homework, we'll have to come back to do it. And we may not be in such an advantageous position as we are now. Right now I'm on a little tour of appreciation. I went from Sacramento to San Diego to Miami, and now I'm here in New Vrindaban. Just appreciating devotees who have done tremendous service. This place is a great example of sacrifice and dedication and love for Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, where devotees have given their lives. Oftentimes, not so much appreciated, not so much recognized. And so it is a great monument of their dedication and sacrifice. And it's very inspiring for us to see, because it helps us to overcome our own insecurities, our own shortcomings, our own attachments, to also do that sweet surrender that is required when Krishna talks in the Bhagavad Gita and says, Sarvadharman parityaja. Give everything up. Give up all your ideas, give up all your things that are so important. Just surrender to me, and I'll give you whatever you need. Don't worry about it. It's going to work out just fine. So, when I was in one place and I met an old friend, I talked to him and I said, the last few times we met, I didn't really feel the love, as they say in California. I didn't feel it was really such a nice experience, and most likely I have offended you, I've neglected you, I said something or did something that would make you angry or upset with me, and that's why you kind of are aloof and we're not having a heart-to-heart relationship. So he paused for a moment. He said, Navina, I have very good memory. If you had said or done something to upset me, I would remember it. But there's nothing there, which means that it's me who must have offended you. So I like to ask your forgiveness and your apology. So we both paid our respects and we embraced, and we're probably just being ourselves, being very concerned about results and expedient, but not really so considerate about the other person. So we shared our hearts, and that same night he invited me to co-host the talk that he gave for his students on Bhagavad Gita, and we shared the mic. And for the students it was quite a new thing, because to them, he's a very assertive person. To them, he's the man, he's the guy, he's the teacher, he's the dude. But all of a sudden they realized, our teacher's got friends also, you know? And he can also pass the mic. He can pass the ball. It's possible. It can actually be done. And that was quite attractive. It was a new experience for them. So, I have many doubts, but one of my doubts was always when I heard the story of Tapan Mishra being an educated, learned Brahmin, but not knowing the goal of life nor the means how to attain it. Have you ever wondered about that one? How can he be learned and educated scholar, but you don't know the goal nor how to get there? It seems like a contradiction. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his purport of Chaitanya Bhagavat to this story explains the mystery. He says that because Tapan Mishra was chanting his Krishna mantra silently, he was doing his japa just for himself. He was not sharing his heart with others. He was not communicating. He was not collaborating. He was not making plans to help others. He was just worried about his own benefit. And that's why he didn't know the goal of life nor the means how to attain it. Has this ever happened to us? So, in the last paragraph of the verse, Tesham satadhyuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te, of the Bhagavad Gita. Can somebody give us the exact translation? One of our pundits, Shruti Dars. Thank you, Maharaj. And in the last paragraph of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says something very beautiful. He says that sometimes you're in a spiritual movement. Sometimes you may even be initiated, but you still don't get it. Who is he talking about? He's talking about me. But then he says something very beautiful. He says, but if you offer all your activity, if you're sincere and serious, and you offer all your activities with love to Krishna, then Krishna will make sure that you attain that understanding and come to him. So whatever it is that we're lacking, Krishna will bridge that gap. That is his mercy, that is his kindness. Now, are devotees always fearless? No, sometimes they also have fear. Just like today is the appearance day of Madhavendra Puri, who is the first person to actually imbibe Madhurya Ras, conjugal sentiment in our Sampradaya. He was so dedicated that Gopal Nathji came to him. He appeared, told him, I want to be worshipped by you. I've been waiting for you. I'm hidden here in this bush. Get me out of here. I want to be worshipped. Krishna also, as Kshirachor Gopinath, he stole sweet rice for his devotee, Madhavendra Puri. But Madhavendra, he was thinking, if I could have sweet rice like that, if I could taste a little bit, then I could make the same preparation for my deity. But then he felt very bad. Thought, this offering is going on. Lord has not finished eating, and I'm thinking about how will this taste. Not good. So he just left that place immediately. That was his fear, that I don't want to offend Krishna. I don't want to offend the devotees. But then Krishna stole the sweet rice for him. The pujari had a dream. He went to the marketplace, calling out, bringing him the sweet rice. Madhavendra was ecstatic. But that same night he left that place, because he knew that come morning time, people will come looking for him. Where is that Madhavendra Puri? So he didn't stick around. He didn't take any selfies. He didn't, post to all his groups of followers and, people who depend on him. No, he left. Of course, wherever he went, people already knew about his his glories, but that was his fear. He did not want to have anything that would hamper his devotion for his worshipful Lord. Krishna is so attracted by the love of his devotees that he appears just to allow his devotee to worship him. Gopal Bhatta Goswami did not have a deity to worship. He was worshipping Shalagram. But he had the desire that I would like to worship a deity. So, one fine morning, there was Radha Raman. His Shalagram had transformed into a deity. Krishna had acknowledged his desire and just changed his form to be worshipped by him in that form. Now he could have said, hey, you're already worshipping me as Shalagram or as deity. What's the difference, Worship is worship, right? No. He's recognizing the desire of his devotee and reciprocating. Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardhan. He is extracting the essence of our heart. And what is that essence? Should be love, right? Should be prem. It should be our loving devotion for the Supreme. Parameshwari Thakur, he passed away today. He was an eternal associate of Lord Nityananda, one of his followers. And today is also the appearance day of Gautama Buddha, Siddhartha. So Purnima is a very good day to do sankalpa, to take some resolve, to be convinced about, okay, from today on I'm going to do this, or from today on I'm not going to do that. So, and Srinivasa Acharya, he's one of the acharyas in our sampradaya, is very, very intimate devotee of the Lord, and he was dedicating his life to spreading the mission. transporting these books of the Goswamis that had been written, and then being in great anxiety for having lost them and then recovered them again. So, in a similar way, we can see Srila Prabhupada, when he was asked about his success, he always took the humble role and said that the Bhagavatam went to the West. I was just the one who brought the boxes. I was just the one who carried the Bhagavatam. But Krishna is using his devotees to appear in this world. That is the intimacy between the Lord and his devotees. So, therefore, as Brahma says here, O Narada, O Brahman, it is difficult to measure the glories of the Supreme Person. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, when he was giving blessings, when he was given benediction by Lord Narasimhadev, he said, I'm not afraid, but I'm afraid of your Vishnu Maya. I'm not afraid of the demons, but I'm afraid of your Vishnu Maya, of your potency that can bewilder anybody. So please, let me always be the servant of my spiritual master and the devotees. That was Prahlad's prayer. He was not interested in his own benefit. Naivo dvije paraduratya yavaitaranyas tadviryagaya namahamrita magna chitta shochetato vimukacheta sa indriyartam maya sukhayam baramudvahato vimudhan. In a similar spirit, Srila Prabhupada, he was always in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, how to do good for the foes and rascals of this world. That was his meditation. He said, I want to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere at once. Now, everywhere includes pretty much everywhere, right? That includes also the place where you live. So how is Prabhupada gonna spread Krishna consciousness everywhere at once? Any ideas how that's gonna happen? Work with me, people. Brihad Mridanga, yes, through his transcendental literatures. So, as you can see here, Srila Prabhupada wrote over 80 books. He said, I had to write 80 books to convince you to chant Hare Krishna. and these books are available. And we should read them every day. Yatredyante katam rishtas trishnayo prashamoyata nirvairam yatra bhuteshu nodvego yatra kaschana. That wherever you are, if you're hearing the Bhagavatam, not if you pay attention to your phone, but if you hear the Bhagavatam, then what happens? There will be no hankering for material things. There will be no fear and no anxiety. That's pretty good. Huh? Before breakfast, that's pretty good. Even if you just read one verse every day, you'll be free of fear, anxiety, and material hankerings. Is that possible, to read one verse every day? Yeah. You just come to Bhagavatam class, or you do your own personal study also. But now, because of the circumstance, some temples are closed, some people have stopped doing Bhagavatam class or Bhagavad Katha. But the Katha has to go on. Yeah, it sounds like, why? Huh? It has to go on. Otherwise, again, these material tendencies will creep in and they will pull us down and we'll become fearful. It can happen. Because this world is a fearful place. Did you ever have a nightmare? Huh? You went to sleep at the wrong time and some very unpleasant things occurred. So, but the greatest fear is to lose the opportunity of the human form of life. So by following our acharyas and trying to be part of the solution, sharing this knowledge with others, we can actually become fearless. And then, as it is stated here, very succinctly and beautifully, that there is no question of decreasing the bliss. Do you like that? There's no question of decreasing the bliss. Would you like to decrease the bliss? No. There's no question of decreasing the bliss. Because we know this is our birthright. This is Sadhaya Bhak. This is our inheritance. This is what we have come for in this Krishna consciousness movement. So, I'm humbled and awed by the sacrifice, surrender, and dedication of all of you and the previous generations of devotees who have sacrificed to build this place and to keep it going. And I have come here like a thief in the night and will leave like a thief, just extracting the the inspiration from all of you. And many great things are happening, and so much more opportunity and potential is there. Sankirtan means teamwork. It means together. Sharing means caring. There's a big place, and there's a lot of seva. One person can't do it. Not even a few people can do it. It takes an army of people to do it. So, and if we want to succeed, we have to succeed together. And that means we cannot have issues, grudges. Yeah, people can have different tastes, people can have different ideas, but we should be able to lower our false ego and our own agenda in order to do the work of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, we may have to come again. Any questions or comments? Yes, Maharaj.
You mentioned that devotees also have anxiety, and we know Mother Yashoda had her anxiety and her fears. It was cancer. There's so many in the spiritual world. There seems to be also anxiety, and you're saying that this material world, we should surrender to Krishna to get free of anxiety. But even Prabhupada was full of anxiety. How to build Juhu temple and so on.
Yes, that is
So
Krishna.
what's the difference between the material anxiety and our spiritual anxiety?
Thank you, Maharaj. Yeah, the anxiety in the material world is my time is running out, and all the toys go back on the shelf. And the spiritual anxiety is, how can I fulfill the mission of my spiritual master? How can I serve Krishna better? That is Krishna anxiety. That is helpful anxiety. That's what gets you up in the morning. And what makes you dedicate. That is beneficial anxiety. And it is not destructive. It is not harmful like the material anxiety. It can actually be quite blissful, that anxiety. Because part of that is also understanding that I'll do my bit and the others will do their bit. It's not that I have to do everything. In the material world, if you don't complete the project and enjoy the glory and the profit from it, then it's useless, right? It's just a waste of time. But if you understand that this is Krishna's project and I will do my bit and others are doing their bit, and that's just fine. That's the way it's supposed to be. Then you can be at peace, even in that spiritual anxiety of trying to do your part and make the best contribution you can. But Nichadita is going to give us the conclusion on that one.
The question.
Does that help, Maharaj? It's constant anxiety, but anxiety for Krishna, how to give pleasure to Krishna, how to make Krishna happy, how to please Krishna. Krishna's enjoyment is in the center. So that's the anxiety of the gopis, that's the anxiety of Mother Yashoda. But on their own selves, they don't have any anxiety. The gopis said, yeah, take dust, no problem. We're ready to suffer to make Krishna happy. Huh?
How to stop Krishna from going to Mathura?
Yeah. There's a big anxiety. It's huge, yeah.
So before coming to Krishna consciousness and when we preach, we encourage people to come to the temple to become, it's a safe place for, so the safest place in association of devotees for people in the mature world. So then when we come to the temple, sometimes we have issues. So where's the safest place in the temple?
Sometimes. Sometimes we have issues. Where is the safest place? Yeah, Kirtan Ras is the safest place in the universe. If you have taste for chanting, for Sankirtan, means not just for myself, but congregational, with others. And you may say, okay, I don't like the accordion, or I don't like the wampers, or I don't like this, or the djembe, or that freaks me out, but okay, we're doing Kirtan, fine, okay, so be it. You understand? You have to do it together, in a group. And try to help others, try to make it attractive for others. Like right now, at this point in time, African Americans are the most receptive demographics in this country. They're super open to Krishna consciousness. They take books like anything. But are we ready for them? I'm asking you, are we ready for them? Oh, you say yes, but I'm not so sure. Huh? So, it's one thing to put the message out there, but then when people actually start reading these books and come knocking on your door, then it's another thing to actually take care of them. So, I don't know if that answers your question. So, absorption in Sankirtan is the safest place, and engaging in loving exchanges with devotees. Tadati pratigrinati guyamakyati prichati bhungte bhujayate chaiva sadvidim priti lakshanam. If we do these 6 types of activities of sharing prasad, receiving prasad, revealing our mind in confidence and giving counsel, accepting and giving gifts, then that intimacy, that trust, that love will increase. So even if there are certain differences of opinion, if they're about service, then it's spiritual. It increases the taste. It increases the variety. It's not a threat. I was visiting a friend down in Florida, and I was doing a Zoom class in my van, and then at the end of the Zoom class, there was a knock on my door. And I was like, what's happening now? And it was Ganga, the 3-year-old daughter of my friend. He's got 5 kids, so the second smallest. She had picked 2 blueberries, and she was giving them to me. So it was Mother's Day. It was on that Sunday. So, we talk philosophy, but when the application comes, that's actually what creates transformation. Without realization, there is no transformation. Otherwise, it's just gyan, it's just knowledge, it's just data. If we're not ready to apply ourselves to the process in the association of others, then we will lack that realization. Yes.
Thank you.